Philadelphia's past 24 hours have been nothing but electric, as not only did they get their season back on track versus the Vikings, but now have officially inked Brandon Graham. And there's some new details this morning on the plan for number 55 that has me more excited than I first thought. Plus, why the Cowboys might have just opened up the Eagles' mind to a major pass rusher trade, what Kevin Patullo did to finally unlock the Birds' passing attack. Thomas Mott, this is a Thomas Mott Show. There is so much going on inside Philadelphia the past 2 days that it's hard to keep track of. From BG officially signing back with the Birds this morning to the return of some key injured Birds. Plus, a new edge rusher trade target that Howie Roseman might need to fight Jerry Jones for. Oh, and over on the offensive side of the football, yes, Jalen Hurts dominated the Vikings, but it wasn't just his deep ball accuracy that shined. I think Kevin Patullo finally listened to all of us and started implementing some much-needed changes. First, though, as mentioned on yesterday's show, I'm giving away this Jordan Spector art Jalen Hurts breed of one art piece to one person who is subscribed, of course, drops a like and comments down below. Why don't you give me Hurts in the comments section to get your second entry, giving this bad boy away on Saturday. Now, of course, the biggest Eagle news of the last 48 hours is the now official return of edge rusher Brandon Graham, who signed his contract this morning and then explained his entire thought process behind the decision on his PHLY Unblocked podcast right after.
I'm excited, man. I am. No expectations, just excited just to, get after it. Of course, I believe in the team because that's a big part of it too. And I know that they got everything that they need, and just can't wait to just add a little more value.
Graham would also explain the timeline that actually led him to this seemingly kind of random decision 7 weeks into the NFL year. So he originally did not want to retire following the Super Bowl win, but it appears Philadelphia was not that interested in bringing him back. Then, around the time the Eagles signed Zadarius Smith before week 2, Howie Roseman reached out to BG's agent and floated the idea, which I kind of read the tea leaves behind that as Graham was then tasked with getting in shape to prove his ability to return before both sides officially made the decision, likely a little over a week and a half ago. And now, with Philadelphia already having an open roster spot, Graham will immediately be able to get back on the practice squad as soon as tomorrow, as his original start date of the post-bye matchup versus the Packers is probably being moved up to this Sunday's home rematch versus the Giants. And of course, that all sounds great, but the natural question we've all been wondering is, can BG actually produce on the football field? What sort of Brandon Graham are we going to get, again, this Sunday versus the Giants? And really, there's two options here. Option one, simply a veteran leader in the locker room who plays sparingly and doesn't provide a ton of on-the-field stats, but of course, plenty of behind-the-scenes leadership for the young edge rusher group, aka basically what Saquon Barkley told WIP when he talked about Brandon Graham this morning.
It would mean a lot. Just his presence, his leadership, just the way he comes into the locker room, the way he comes into the building every single day, it goes throughout the whole building from the vet to the young guys. So
option B, of course, is all of that plus actual production on the field, which a review of his 2024 tape shows a forgotten serious threat in stopping the run, something the Birds very much need right now this year. Plus, also the same power and explosiveness in the pass rush that if you actually go back to the Super Bowl, we did see, despite tearing his tricep and not playing any games before this, he was very, very good, and that probably played a part in him coming back. Well, of course, nothing is guaranteed. I continue to emphasize that. I do think the Eagles and BG truly believe he still has something left in the tank, and could be that Chris Long third down body that provides a spark off the edge. Vic Fangio, the DC, on the other hand, though, had a more realistic approach to seeing how game ready he is, but did sound very excited during his press conference today about the return of the edge rusher.
We'll see. You see what kind of shape he's in, what kind of retention he has from last year. Shape comes in two forms. One, just your conditioning, but in football, shape too, contact shape. So hopefully the sooner the better.
Has this been an ongoing conversation with him? Have you been in communication with him throughout the course of the season? Or?
Well, I haven't, all the way from the start. I was teasing him not to retire all the way back to last February and March. So, yeah, I've run into him. We've talked when he's come by. I always tease him about it. Try to light the fire.
All we have to do as fans, though, is sit back and enjoy the ride. Wait and see. See what happens with Brandon Graham on Sunday. More so after the bye week, though. I think he'll play sparingly on Sunday versus the Giants, then officially get back after the bye. But I don't think this is the final move. And actually, there was reporting this past Sunday, everyone's kind of glossed over, confirming Philadelphia is still hunting for an edge rusher despite the return of Brandon Graham. Now, sure, BG is a fresh body. They could just stop at that. That's great. That's fine. Whatever. And yes, Nolan Smith did post this picture to his Instagram on Monday with the caption, "One more week," all but confirming another edge rusher returning after the bye versus the Packers. But adding an edge to a soon-to-be healthy unit with BG and Nolan would be, in my opinion, the straw that could break the metaphorical back on a very loaded NFC. And a lot of people missed, as I mentioned, a key edge rusher trade update from the New York Times this past Sunday. As first, the Bengals' Trey Hendrickson is, quote, still drawing interest around the league, with the 49ers showing the most interest, although the new update is Cincinnati isn't shopping him, and after the Bengals' Thursday night win, most do not expect him to get moved. Maybe Cincinnati changes their mind if they lose the next 2 games, but they play the Jets and Bears, so it does sound like all that hype around the Eagles making a bid for Hendrickson might officially come to an end. Wide open, however, as expected, still, according to the New York Times, is Dolphin edge rushers Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, which also said the Eagles in that same exact article are still in search of edge rusher help and at cornerback as well. And remember, all this comes when people knew BG was coming back to Philadelphia. This report was right there in the mix as the BG news was coming out, but we know BG actually made his decision weeks prior, and so the Eagles are definitely still in the edge rusher market. I think Chubb, I think Phillips, I think Jermaine Johnson, but there's one more name I do think Howie should make a call for. And that, of course, is Raiders edge rusher Maxx Crosby, who I know, I'll stop you right here. According to Mark Davis and Crosby himself, he wants to stay with the Raiders for life, at least this past offseason. But that was before the Raiders now are, 1-6, an absolute mess and going nowhere fast. Using their head instead of their heart would suggest sell Crosby high right now, reset everything, get draft picks, and start from scratch. And if you're asking Thomas, would Philadelphia make a serious offer for Maxx Crosby? Well, we forget. A couple of weeks ago, it was confirmed they made a serious attempt to trade for Micha Parsons this offseason. Didn't work out, obviously, but they tried for a major swing. And then, as we said last week, did a video on it. There's a new report saying Philadelphia was going to make a bid for Trey Hendrickson. That wouldn't be cheap either. Of course, the Bengals then won. We just mentioned it, not in the market. But Howie seemingly has made 2 swings, 2 attempts at major edge rushers. And so why would Crosby be any different? And as far as price, I don't think it would be that expensive, as Mike Tannenbaum, for instance, proposed a, 2nd and 4th round pick in a proposed mock trade here between the Bucs and Raiders earlier this month. I'd do a 2nd and a 4th for Crosby in a heartbeat. The main question will be, though, if teams like the Cowboys will drive the price up, as reports today confirmed Dallas did call the Raiders this week to inquire about the edge rusher. Did the Raiders answer the phone? That remains to be unknown, but interesting, the Cowboys have made a call. Still, it takes 2 to tango, but with the Raiders' schedule obviously rough the next 2 weeks, they're 1-6, I do think Howie Roseman should go ahead and at least make an offer. The worst you can do is call and they say no. My guess is, if I had to bet, it's Chubb or Phillips because of the connection to Vic Fangio, but if they still want that big fish, if they really want to go for it, right now their only real option, if Hendrickson is officially off the market, is probably Maxx Crosby. Of course, until an edge move is actually made, we'll see if it does, we do expect a lot more Jihaad Campbell pass rusher snaps going forward like we did versus the Vikings this past week, where Campbell had a multitude of snaps on the outside, as Vic Fangio said, looked okay, but needs more reps at that seemingly brand new position.
I think he performed basically like I thought he would. It's new out there, and particularly, the packages he was going up there earlier were different than this past game. So there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to get comfortable with. The more he's up there, the better he'll get at it.
Vic also confirmed the plan this previous Sunday was to play Nakobe Dean around 30 snaps in both base and then eventually nickel defensive looks, and was also very impressed with the energy that Dean brought. He looked really good in his first game back.
Yeah, I just wanted to get Nakobe in there in spot duty. The plan was base for Nakobe. Then you never know how much base you're going to get in a game. And then we played him some in nickel too, and I think he got about 30 plays. Which I think was a good number, and the way they came was good, too.
I knew Nakobe Dean had been saying all offseason long, he's ready to go, he's going to be back to himself. I was still hesitant, and I spent time with Nakobe Dean at the NovaCare Complex where he told me that in person, and I still left like, I don't know, patellar tendon, that's tough, the knee, will he come back? He was great on Sunday. I mean, that looked like vintage 2024, Pro Bowl level Nakobe Dean. If you keep getting that going forward, and then, of course, a new edge rusher, and you mix in Campbell, the cornerback play works out, this defense is going to look a lot better 5, 6, 7 weeks from now than they have the past 3. Still, though, one final edge note here. Vic Fangio did tell the media he does not expect to have Azeez Ojulari back anytime soon from his injury during his press conference today, so that means even more snaps for BG, potentially, and Jihaad Campbell at edge versus the Giants. Now, moving back to the secondary briefly here, and this week technically is the first week that Jakorian Bennett, remember him, could officially return from his stint on the IR. With Adoree Jackson, not confirmed, but likely in concussion protocol, and Keith Ringo, as we know, struggling this past Sunday. Leaving Jakorian Bennett with a real shot of getting some serious reps at cornerback this Sunday versus the Giants. Now, he's going to need more reps. And that's what Vic Fangio emphasized. He's got to get some practice reps this week. We'll see if they activate him. But Vic would argue that Adoree's looked good, and Keely's been a little bit up and down, needs to turn the corner, but he seems pretty, impressed, is that the right word, with the current cornerback situation with Bennett coming back in Philadelphia.
Again, that will be determined by practice. He hadn't practiced. You can't practice when you're on IR. So once we open up his window and get him on the practice field, see where he's at. Yeah, I thought Adoree was doing fine. And Keely did fine when he was in there. He got hit. Some of the completions he's given up, not all of them, but some of them have come on tough routes. So still think he can eventually be better than he's been. His opportunities will keep coming probably, and hopefully he'll turn the corner.
Now, moving over to the offense, and there are 3 main news points for this morning. Some good, some bad, and some key changes. The good, obviously, was Jalen Hurts. The All-22 film from the perfect performance versus the Vikings is nothing short of fantastic. As Jalen now sits in the top 5 in passing yards, yards per attempt, passing touchdowns, TD interception ratio, and passer rating since week 3. Further silencing the haters and impressing everybody in the building, especially his offensive coordinator.
I think the biggest thing is his command of everything and his control of the entire game. He puts so much work into it at all times that you can feel his just presence out there. And you knew he had a great feel for what was going on. And he stood in the pocket, which was absolutely tremendous, made some big-time throws. So I think the biggest thing is that, right? His leadership and understanding what we were trying to do as an offense and the direction we were going and just his full command of it.
But for as great as Jalen Hurts was, and that was a lot of Jalen Hurts magic, I think we have to give, this is crazy to say, some credit to Campbell Patullo because he made some key changes in this game we have not seen all year long, and they made a massive difference. Entering Sunday, Patullo had utilized under-center play-action passes just 5 times all season long. Crazy to think about. With Sunday more than doubling that number, with nearly all of the play-action passes under center resulting in massive plays, as Brian Baldinger explained on his film breakdown.
One adjustment the Eagles made in this game was they put Jalen Hurts under center. They went play-action pass, max protection right here, and it started off slow. First quarter, they got one that got it for 2 yards. But then it changed right here. Biggest play of the game, all right? 14-9 right here, 2nd and 5. Let's watch the Slim Reaper put this move right here on Isaiah Rodgers. Like it looks like he's going to run like this go route. He turns it completely around, and Jalen put it right on him. All right, 79 yards. Longest play from scrimmage for Smitty. Biggest play of the season for the Eagles to go up 21-9. Here it is. They added Fred Johnson for extra protection. All right, so now you go play action, fake it to Saquon right here, and he helps out right there in the center. All right, you got all this action right here, max protection. Jalen slides at 55 yards in the air, right to Devontae Smith. Couldn't make it any better than that. And it would continue, like right here. Late third, 21-16, they need a play. Here you go. Play action, Devontae in the middle of the field, they find him. Perfect.
KP's big problem has been tweaking the offense the past couple of weeks. It's just been the same thing, rinse and repeat. Still saw plenty of that on Sunday versus the Vikings, but we at least got some changes. And I do think with one more game versus the Giants, and then naturally a bye week to further implement change, he might finally get things more up to speed. Does that mean he's absolved of all issues? By no means. He still had plenty of problems. The run game, as we'll talk about, but at least it looked better, and you got to give him a little bit of credit for changing things up.
And I think this past week was a week that we felt like it could help us and give us an advantage in the game plan and open up some different things for us. And, we did that early with the runs, and then it elevated to the play actions.
And there is an idea that those under-center play-action plays will eventually help spring Saquon Barkley, who, as you know, struggled once again, yet oddly is averaging 5 yards per carry in quarter number 1s this year, that then drops slowly down to the mid 1.5s by quarter 4. Something Campbell Patullo was asked about during his press conference today and wasn't quite sure how to explain it.
I think the game the other day kind of presented itself similar to where we were able to get out in the runs a little bit. Then the rest of the stuff opened up. So I think that's kind of a piece of it. And then obviously late in the game, the fourth quarter, we've had a few 4-minute drives where we're running the ball situationally. So situationally, statistically, they're probably going to go down just because of what we're trying to do with the clock in those moments. But I think really when you look at it, it's sometimes the way the game's presented itself as far as get the runs going, and the rest of the offense can feed off of it. And that's kind of how the game went the other day.
Are we ever going to figure out the Birds' rushing attack? Honestly, I watched the film. I don't know. I saw a lot of the same plays being called. That's a problem. No real creativity there. And a lot of missed blocks. I mean, it's both those things combined right now, and it's why Philadelphia is struggling. The Saquon Barkley, though, that I see in film is still the Saquon Barkley from 2024. He is not injured or lost a step or seems older. He's just not getting running lanes. When he has them, he's hitting them. We saw those a lot in the Giants, but he's not getting the running lanes right now. And until they fix that, hopefully soon, it's going to be a lot of the same when it comes to 2-6. Still, next week is the Giants once again, and they did hit on 2 early 18-yard runs for Saquon against that defense before eventually our defense gave up too many points and we fell behind and had to throw our way to another loss. Maybe this is finally the week for, the 8th week in a row where Barkley gets going? You guys tell me. Now, of course, plenty more stuff happening the next couple of days and weeks. Who practices tomorrow is going to be interesting. Dory Jackson, Grant Calcaterra, what happens with Jakorian and Bennett. We'll cover it all here on my Thursday show. Obviously, our live show on Wednesday as well. Be sure to go ahead and subscribe. And obviously, get your comment in down below to enter the Jordan Spector art giveaway. We have plenty of giveaways happening basically every week here on the channel. I'm Thomas Mott on a Tuesday. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.